I haven't even seen an episode of The Sopranos.
You know, Quasimodo predicted all this.
20 years in the camp. I wanted my goat. I dumped the house. I ate grilled cheese off the radiator instead.
Welcome gamers, my name is Droll Gaming, and today I bring you quite the gem, Sopranos Road to Respect.
About that prick's face when he saw the gat.
We're gonna dive into story, gameplay. What I like about this game, I compromised, spent 20 years in the can.
It says with pulp. You like it with pulp. Not this much. I like the one that says some pulp.
So if you like the Sopranos, Sopranos adjacent content, or just Sopranos brain rot,
I'm losing my balls over here. Put one in my socks at
stay
night.
tuned and let's dive into it. Also, I'm pretty sure this game has spoilers, so if you haven't caught up with the series yet, you're about to become enlightened. Okay, so where to begin with the story? So we get a glimpse of Tony coming out of the Satrial's pork store that's often shown in the show, where we see someone breaking into a car and stealing a purse before swatting at someone with a bat.
Go off.
We learn that this is Joey LaRocca, who is the illegitimate son of Salvatore Bonpensiero. I might have butchered that, but the show they call him Big Pussy. After catching him stealing, Tony chews out Joey before deciding to offer him a job to see if he can earn his way into the family. From here we do various missions in order to build respect within the Sopranos crime family.
Joey, your work here is done. Joey, your work here is done. Joey, your work here is done.
From visiting Christopher's gym,
Joey, get over here.
to AJ's rave, to going to the hospital, to the law office, and everything else in between. Now in the game, we're pretty much indebted to Paulie, who kind of leads us around by the nose, but really we're helping out a lot of different members of the Sopranos crew, including Silvio, Tony himself, AJ, and many more.
What the fuck?
Now as cool as that is already, there is an overarching plot to the game, and it begins really with one of the very first missions. Now Paulie and this guy are having some kind of disagreement in the bathroom, and begins to beat up this person, and then he says, "Hey Joey, come on in here and finish the job." And by finish the job, I mean we really finish the job, because we end up killing this person who ends up being the nephew of Angelo Buscetta, a rival mob boss from Philadelphia. We take care of the body with one of our friends in the crew and slowly get sucked into this plot where we have to keep this murder a secret from Angelo as tensions between the two crime families continue to rise. Now throughout this process, we get flashbacks of Joey's father, Pussy, who warns him and gives him advice on whether he's going down the right road or if he's going to make the same mistakes that led to him end up getting shot for ratting out the family, much like in the show. Now what's kind of crazy is I think in the game we actually don't know what happened to our father. I think Joey's under the impression is that he disappeared or he went somewhere else, and it isn't until much later in the game that I think we actually learn from Angelo, who lets us know that our father was a rat and was ended up being taken out by Tony and his friends. Even so, we're still indebted to Tony for helping us get a job and get back on our feet, and so we go to war with Angelo Buscetta and his crime family before eventually taking him out and being fully accepted into the Soprano crime family.
Wrong after all.
Okay, enough about the story, because the real meat here is the gameplay. I don't know what kind of combat system you expected from a Sopranos franchise game, but we're here for a Yakuza-style third-person beat-em-up, and I'm all for it. In the game, we can alternate between light and heavy attacks for any enemies that are oncoming to us, and by mixing them up into different combos, we can dish out some crazy damage to enemies. There is an entire combo list, actually, for how much damage we can inflict on other people with crazy names, including the A-hole tax, the Moltisanti slam, and many more. Okay, so we have combos, but it's not just combos, because we also have different specials and finishers that we can use to finish off enemy mobsters. And some of these could be pretty brutal. They range from being comedic, like doing the old nut twist, or they could be as brutal as like breaking some guy's arm, or even taking our gun and shooting him in the head. The Sopranos crew doesn't pull any punches around here, especially not Joey LaRocca. There's also a pretty advanced weapon system where we could pick up different items off the ground and use them to inflict more damage than we would with our lighter heavy attacks. These weapons can range anywhere from pieces of wood, they can be hammers, golf clubs, some more questionable choices, but either way we're really hammering with them. Now, a cool part of the gameplay is the game has a solid foundation on the respect system, much like within the show.
Whatever happened there?
You disrespect the family, you're out. And what that means is if you use your weapon in places that it's not authorized, indicated by the stars in the corner of our screen, Slowly but surely, the more we use our gun, we lose respect, and eventually if we run out of respect, Tony and Paulie whack us, much like our father.
Too bad, Joey. Guess the sun doesn't always rise.
And so in order to keep our respect, we have to play it cool, and how we handle different dialogues and different choices within the game. Usually what this looks like is with certain dialogues we can take the choice of either remaining neutral or taking a more tough guy attitude, or instead being smooth and trying to ease things over without any conflict.
You sure you got the right shop?
You know how much a dentist costs with no insurance? No,
Which is funny because sometimes Joey rejects the high road altogether and says, whatever, we're going with our hands now, and we get into fighting nonetheless. Beyond just combat, there's a few different mini games that we can kind of dip our feet into, including playing poker with the different members of the Soprano crew, or in one of the levels we go to a casino and we can do gambling on the different slots, which is kind of weird because it says, well, we can have different earning lines, but for the most part we're kind of earning the same amount either way. Or looting different pickups throughout the game, including electronic devices, contraband, and much more.
Fiber optic cable. High-speed internet access.
Now, beyond the story and gameplay, there's just so much that I really like about this game, and I want to spend a good majority of the video just talking about that. This game is just unironically really fun. I wasn't expecting to be as much fun as it was when I played it, but I had a really great time. The game is very reminiscent of some of the comedy from the show, where the dialogue is hilarious. They really maintain that with even just the minor interactions between Paulie and Joey, between the different members of the Sopranos crew.
Let the kid get laid. He's got blue balls.
Even just random everyday people we walk up to have something to say, and I found myself laughing a lot while I was playing this game, and it was really fun. I think what really adds to it is that the same voice actors playing the characters in the game are the same actors from the show, and so the voice acting is spot on. You really feel immersed in the universe, despite the game's story being non-canon. The developers even nailed each character's mannerisms, including Paulie's quirkiness and his weird hand movements, and Christopher's aggressiveness, and even Silvio's mean mug where he kind of, you know what I'm talking about, he kind of hunches over and stares you down. They did a great job of capturing that. You know, Quasimodo predicted all this. Which is sad to say because Bobby actually doesn't appear in the game, surprisingly, but outside of that, everything else is very detailed, very intricate, and very purposeful in the kind of atmosphere they're looking to create. Even just like the little details, like the set pieces for every environment was crazy, whether it be the starting hub, Bada Bing, which I believe in the show is a strip club that the Sopranos family uses as a headquarters, is very detailed between all the different patrons who each have something different to say.
I just popped wood.
Thanks for the update.
The lights that are going on, there's a part that I can't show for obvious reasons, but they got that going on too.
Take your clothes off.
It's also detailed, same with some of the other environments like the gym, which has a complete exercise set. It has a sauna, locker rooms, AJ's rave, which has a bunch of cool different lighting effects. There's actually one part, now I'm thinking about it, in the lawyer level where some of the God rays coming through the window, I had to like take a step back and do a double take. I'm like, this looks crazy. And we talked about it a little bit already, but the dialogue is just so believable, like whether between like passing comments between Joey and just assorted NPCs that are in each environment, or sometimes we get sucked into conversations where we can make choices, and the characters we interact in both realistic ways and really funny ways that really add to the charm of the game.
You're a low life thief.
Also, some of the animations are like bizarrely good for like what the game is. Like I remember, whether it be mid-combat, I'm getting roundhoused by the enemy like out of nowhere. I'm like, where is this coming from? And to stick on that point for a moment, I was really impressed by how creative the combat was in this game. The amount of environmental finishers that you can do that are so unique and different from one another really caught my attention. And some of them are honestly so brutal. Like I remember, I think it's in the car level where you first find the bandsaw and you can take some guy's head and shove it into the saw while it's running. I was like, okay, now we're in like a horror game. This is pretty intense. I mean, when in Rome, you do what you gotta do. Especially want to be part of Tony's crew.
Shut up!
Beyond that, I didn't know this until actually playing the game, but surprisingly the story isn't canon. I tried looking this up, but I don't think they ever make mention of a Joey the Roca in the show or anything of the sort. Even so, the story surprisingly pretty good.
I'll tell you, after a meal like that, what I could use is a nice piece of pastrami sandwich with Dijon mustard.
We get to follow the journey of someone who comes from nothing and really has their respect dragged through the mud by having their father been a rat within the mafia and slowly but surely build their way up to really becoming a part of the main crime family. Joey throughout the game is forced to kind of weigh the options in between really being like a cold-blooded criminal and having like a shred of moral conscience, especially with these flashbacks from his father who weighs in on whether Joey feels like he's doing the right thing or not. Which I honestly really like seeing. In games, I sometimes try to shy away from some of the more evil endings, but I really like seeing Joey being a bad guy, but not a bad guy. You know what I mean?
I gotta go back.
And so with that said, this game is cheesy for sure, but cheesy in a good way. There's a lot of punchlines, a lot of one-liners.
Tastes like
There's a lot of slapstick humor, and I think it really adds to the beauty of this game. Adding on to the cool fact, there's actually a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff, which is pretty interesting if you're a Sopranos fan. There's a lot of concept art behind the game, which I didn't unlock all of it, but checking out some of it, it was pretty cool seeing how much effort went into making each level super detailed and capturing the features of each actor depicted in the game. There's a lot of behind-the-scenes footage of actually recording the lines for this game where James Gandolfini's sitting with the voice actor for Joey LaRocca and they're having a back and forth that really looks cool as an outsider looking inward into the process it took to make this final product. I think above all else, one part I really enjoyed about this game was how it just created some really memorable moments that while I was playing this and recording, I couldn't stop laughing at either the irony or just the absurdity of it all.
You wanna watch?
To start, one of the unexpectedly fun parts of this game was getting stun locked. Like when you have 2 or 3 guys beating up on you, there are no iframes, so if you mistime your light attacks trying to break up the fight, you can actually get stun locked and die from not being able to break out of this beatdown session. There's also another part in the game where you're in the hospital level and you can come across a lady who's sad that she cannot get her prescription for something causing her a lot of pain. And so you offer to help by intimidating the people behind the front counter, and through coercion you're able to speed up the process with getting her pills. And so we're able to do a kind deed. However, we notice that her purse is actually right next to her, and so right after helping her, we turn around and steal her purse right in front of her.
Money in the bank.
Adding on to the hilarity, in the same level, the hospital scene, we learn from one of the doctors who were extorting that the pharmacist in the hospital is actually selling opioids illegally and that he can cut us in on the deal. Upon going to see the pharmacist, he stabs us with a hypodermic needle that makes us begin to hallucinate, where he goes from being one pharmacist to mitosising into 3 separate enemies that we have to beat up in order to get out of there. This whole sequence is crazy because after that we go a little bit further and meet up with Chris, where we beat up another guy for some reason, and then Chris all of a sudden decides to take us out, calling us a rat like our father, before shooting us, and Joey wakes up panicking, being startled by the doctor who says he was hallucinating that.
Please!
Between this, another scene in which one security guard is getting mad that his Chinese takeout is taking too long,
and a side of wonton.
Orange peel
It's an
beef.
hour late.
and the other scene where we're dancing amongst the kids at the bar mitzvah. This game has such small little details or little moments that make it a memorable experience that I think stand out more than anything. And so despite this game being a little bit obscure, I definitely recommend it, especially if you're a Sopranos fan. I think this game really ties it all together and hits the spot like a tasty piece of gabagoo. And so I think I could go on forever talking about how much I like this game, but we'll end it there for today, and I really wanted to thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed, please consider liking and subscribing, and leave a comment down below about the parts of this video you enjoyed the most, or if you've played it before, things that stood out the most to you. I also have a Patreon and a YouTube membership where you can join the Council of Thumbs and help continue to support me making videos like these. Thank you to everyone who's already joined, and I'll make sure to put the member list up at the end of this video. As always, thank you for watching. This has been Joel Gaming, signing off.